All right, guys, Wes here. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk about Starfield as we have some news regarding an upcoming showcase that you guys do not want to miss out on. The marketing for Starfield is about to ramp up like crazy. And today we're going to talk about when the next showcase is going to be. We also just got some recent comments from Phil Spencer in an interview that I won't lie has me a bit concerned about when Starfield will get revealed and whether or not they're still planning on doing it before their big showcase in June. Will we get an official Starfield showcase, or is it going to be something that's just tied in with the Xbox showcase? Whether you've been following Starfield for a long time or this is your first video you're watching on the game, I'm going to go over everything new that you guys need to know. Starfield is the upcoming sci-fi RPG from Bethesda Game Studios that's currently being billed as their big comeback game following a list of disappointing releases. It's their first new IP in decades, and Bethesda boss Todd Howard has been seriously hyping things up. Longtime fans of Bethesda are eager to see more of this ambitious galaxy-sized project filled with 1,000 planets, and thankfully, rumors and insider reports are starting to suggest that there's going to be some big news dropping in the near future, including new gameplay, an official release date, and so much more. But where is the showcase we were promised? We're now officially into the third month of 2023, and so far we've heard something from every major player in the gaming industry about what they're planning to do throughout the year. Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo have had some kind of showcase regarding their upcoming releases, and while both Microsoft and Sony are reportedly planning some bigger showcase for a few months from now, everyone has at least said something about their 2023 plans. Bethesda is one of the biggest publishers in the world, and while we've heard quite a bit about their upcoming Arcane Studios shooter, Redfall, and we got a solid look at the upcoming Elder Scrolls Online expansion, we haven't heard much of anything about their plans for the rest of the year. And make no mistake, Bethesda is a huge publisher under Xbox Game Studios. Now, from what we know so far, according to Microsoft, there will be a big Starfield showcase sometime very soon. When that is something that we don't know, although we know that the game is set to still come out in the first half of 2023, so there really is only a few more months on the clock if that is their actual plan. That being said, I personally have my doubts on whether or not the game is going to launch by the end of June, because I think we would have had a showcase at this point, as well as a release date, but right now we have nothing. It's been radio silence, apart from the fact that the game is still coming out this year. I personally think the game is likely going to get pushed back again, maybe to late fall or early winter, so it gives Microsoft and Bethesda Game Studios enough time to really get things right. The reality is right in front of us. We have not gotten a major Xbox exclusive on the Series X console. There's really not been anything big, but we just recently got some comments from Phil Spencer that could give us a better idea on when they plan on doing a big showcase for Starfield, but more on that in just a bit. There is a lot on the line for Bethesda Game Studios with this game, which is probably the main reason why it's been delayed so many times. Remember, this game was first teased back in 2018 and has been delayed tons of times. That said, I completely understand why Bethesda is taking their sweet time with it, especially because how much Xbox really needs a win. I don't think it could be understated just how important it is for Bethesda that this game was absolutely worth the wait because of how much hot water that they've gotten themselves into the last decade. They really need a massive win to prove to the world that they've still got it. The last critically acclaimed Bethesda developed game was Skyrim, and that launched all the way back in 2011. So needless to say, they're long overdue for something really awesome. And I truly think that this game will deliver. However, I do have some reservations, but I'll talk about that in just a bit. I'd like to talk about a recent interview with Xbox's Phil Spencer on the YouTube channel Xbox On. When asked about what the horizon is looking like for future games to be revealed, Phil Spencer said, and I quote, "Right now, mostly there's some things that will come up, but we're mostly focused on June." He then went on to say that there's some news that's coming out, which he kind of left it out that. Now, we do know that Xbox always does their big showcase that happens around June to kind of line up with E3. Obviously, we're not going to have Xbox at E3 likely. They'll have their normal Xbox games showcase in June to kind of line up with the same time that other publishers and the big three do their showcases. Now, this statement doesn't really contradict what they previously said, which was from Xbox's Aaron Greenberg, who stated on Twitter, "It's going to be a big year for us. It starts on January 25th as we take you inside our studios to see some of the games that are coming to Xbox, PC, and Game Pass over the next few months, and also to dedicate proper amount of time for a deep dive into Starfield. A standalone show is in the works." Now, things could have obviously changed. They might focus on June for their big showcase with Starfield, but I don't think that's the case. I think in the next couple of months, we're going to see a big Starfield showcase. It's a deep dive that officially announces the release date. Whether or not that release date is still going to be in the first half, that's kind of still up for debate. Now that we're officially in March, I've got a feeling that this is going to be the month that we get the big showcase for Starfield. If we don't get it this month, then I just don't see how Starfield gets released in the first half of this year, and rather release sometime in the second half, likely in the fall or winter. Now, there's also the reality that Starfield's development has not been the best. Like I said before, there's been plenty of delays that have pushed this game back time and time again, and it is still possible that they delay this game again. Like I said, Bethesda really has one shot to get things right, and I know for a fact that they'd rather delay this game than release a bad and, let's just be honest, poorly optimized product. We saw what happened with Fallout 76, and I'm sure Xbox's Phil Spencer as well as Todd Howard are going to ensure that that doesn't happen again. But it is the year 2023, and the things that make the most sense usually don't happen. Now, when could we get this big Starfield showcase? In my opinion, I think the best time to do it is likely sometime this month, or rather March. With Destiny 2's Lightfall already released and the PlayStation State of Play that happened last week, Xbox announcing a big Starfield showcase would be a great time. And if we're lucky, and I mean we gotta be really lucky for this, they announced the release date for Starfield in March for a June release, and then June's showcase will be fully focused on new games coming to Xbox Series X, and it means that Starfield is not going to take up extra time during the next Xbox game showcase, which I think is just a win for all of us. Now, late last month, we got some news regarding Andy Robinson from VGC, who stated on Twitter, "I hear the announcement for Starfield Showcase is imminent." He then further clarified as in soon. Now, obviously soon is the most vague statement ever, but usually whenever Andy Robinson says something, he tends to get quite a few things right. Now, however, all he said was soon. Now, whether or not soon is this week, next week, or sometime next month, we really don't know, but the fact that we have multiple industry insiders talking about a Starfield Showcase, usually whenever there's some smoke, there's a little bit of fire. Maybe that's not the case here, but if the statement from Aaron Greenberg still stays true, then a Starfield Showcase is imminent. We just don't exactly know when that could be. By the time of this video's recording and when you're watching it, we might have already gotten a Starfield Showcase announced, which would be a great thing to see happen, but until we get official word from either Todd Howard or Phil Spencer themselves or the official Bethesda account, everything else is just speculation. There is a reason that Starfield has been delayed so many times, and that is because of how big this game actually is. And I'm sure that there's still a lot of work that could still be done on this game when you look at what we've seen so far. It's been quite some time since we got the last batch of gameplay, and the last thing that we saw was pretty promising, but that doesn't mean there's nothing that could be done to make it even better. Personally, the biggest issue I saw with the game as of right now is the shooting. This game is going to have a lot of shooting, but from everything we've seen so far, it looks very basic and kind of boring. It doesn't look bad per se, but it certainly doesn't look like the kind of thing that will keep a lot of people engaged for dozens of hours. I'm obviously the outlier here. I'm a massive fan of Bethesda Game Studios, so regardless of the state of the gameplay, I'm gonna sink a ton of hours in. But in terms of the gunplay, it kind of has me a bit surprised, since we've been told that id Software, the developers of Doom and Doom Eternal, have been helping out with Starfield's combat system. Now, there's also the fact that Bethesda described Starfield as Skyrim in space, and I guess you could argue that Skyrim was never super deep or varied either, but it was also a fantasy game with tons of cool abilities and weapons, so the setting was enough to keep you going on its own regardless of the depth. Put simply, if Starfield is going to have a heavy emphasis on shooting things, the shooting needs to be way more interesting and engaging than it was since the last gameplay demonstration. There's also the fact that the gameplay that we likely saw was from earlier in the game, and as the game actually scales up, the weapons get better, and we have more abilities unlocked that will just make the gameplay look a lot more fun. I really hope that there's a lot of variety in the enemies, as well as some more movement abilities to allow us options during combat encounters, but overall, the gameplay we got looked pretty solid, and if that's the game that we get at launch, then I'm gonna be perfectly fine, especially if we get that classic BGS single player game. There's over 200,000 lines of dialogue, so that right there is not a concern at all for me, but like I said before, I am the outlier here, but the casual player has to be interested enough with the gameplay to kind of warrant them going through the rest of the story. The last major Bethesda RPG was Fallout 4, and that game had a ton of issues in its combat as well. Many people criticized Fallout 4 for basically being a first-person shooter with light RPG elements instead of being a true RPG experience. Starfield seems to be trying to get back to Bethesda's RPG roots, but it doesn't seem like the simple shooting and combat from Fallout 4 has been addressed, and that will likely do some major damage to the overall experience if it's not adjusted. I don't think it's impossible to have an engaging and deep RPG with awesome combat and gameplay, but as a developer, Bethesda's kind of struggled with that balance ever since Skyrim, and again, Skyrim's combat was pretty reliant on the immersion and setting rather than the actual moment-to-moment actions of the player. Fallout 4 sacrificed RPG elements for the sake of gameplay, but now Starfield is bringing back the RPG elements, and and it's starting to seem like the gameplay is going to suffer. But why can't we have both? I don't mean to harp on this, but Starfield is a game that is supposed to be played for hundreds of hours. And if the combat and gameplay isn't improved from the last gameplay showcase, I don't think casual players are going to have the patience to stick with it as long as Bethesda would like them to. Overall opinions and expectations for Starfield seem to be pretty mixed. There are tons of people who are 100% stoked for it like myself, but on the other hand, there's tons of people that are currently skeptical about the game's quality, regardless of how awesome its concept is. Bethesda could completely redeem themselves with this game, but they could also completely destroy themselves if they don't make sure this game is right. So hopefully the final lap of development goes well and this game manages to blow us all away whenever it actually gets out the door. But keep your eyes peeled for a Starfield showcase in the near future, because at the very least, we're gonna get some kind of announcement in the first half of this year, whether it's the release date in the showcase or an official delay. We will hear about Starfield very soon, and I really hope this game is amazing and blows away all expectations, but really only time will tell. But yeah, guys, that's gonna wrap it up with this video. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, guys. Like the video, subscribe to the channel with your notifications turned on, and if we get a showcase or we get a trailer soon, I'll go over everything in that trailer, so definitely subscribe to stay updated. And until next time, this has been Wes, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.